Welcome back. I am Regina. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm Regina Brown, the host of Realty Success Hub, and today's guest is Aaron Brown, published author of Pride and Property. So we get to chat with him today about his book and some of the most important factors in that book. So looking forward to the excitement and to learn more about your book. So Aaron, welcome.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I'm excited to be here today. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about the new book. God, it's been such a journey so far. And, going on, 14, 15 years of real estate. And so it's an exciting time. And I'm excited that I was able to finally get my book done. It's been a work in progress for a long time, and it'll be fun. So I so appreciate you having me on your show today.
Oh, we are so excited. So after 14 or 15 years, what was it that finally made you decide to write a book? That's a huge project. So what inspired that?
Over the years, I get so many of the same questions. Being a sales specialist for homes, I get so many of the same questions over and over and over. And it's like, Aaron, how do I fix up my house to do this? How do we get the house ready? What things do I need to know, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought it would be fun to put that all into a book where people could, get in and kind of delve into some of those mysteries on how to sell their home. So
the book is on how to sell your home.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed, it is. And so we can jump right into it.
Let's go for it.
A couple of the things that I wanted to cover kind of right off the bat is people have a lot of misconceptions about selling their homes. And, from what should we price the home at to what's going on in the market to what should I do to fix up the home. And it's questions like, man, the backyard looks a little bit bad. I think I need to fix the back deck and et cetera, et cetera. And so as homeowners, all of us kind of have those things, so to speak, of those little problems that we, maybe they're not such a big deal to us. But then when we go to sell our home, we're like, well, we think we need to get the back deck fixed and et cetera, et cetera. And so the book kind of covers the gamut of what's most important, what you should be looking for, and how to take your home and turn it into something that is really special for the market with your realtor, and what things to kind of avoid and not spend money on.
I love that. As a real estate specialist, I deal with that a lot on my end of things, where every person finds specific things they think is really important in order to sell their home. And I know it's very financially, it's a huge cost. And a lot of times it's not the right thing at all to spend money on, meaning not right in the sense that it's not going to create more value, and they're little projects that they wanted to do, but it's not necessarily going to help their home sell more. What does your book guide us a little bit and talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So we jump into all of the nuances of some of the things to do, what would bring the most revenue versus what wouldn't, what kind of things to upgrade, what not to maybe do, some things that can not necessarily be overlooked, but don't need to be an emphasis on selling your home. And then kind of some of the key things of what you should focus on.
Can we actually have a couple of quick examples?
Yeah. So, if you're going to focus on anything on your home before you sell it, it should be kitchen, master, bathrooms. That's really where the money should go right away. And that's where I would focus on. So if you're going to update or upgrade anything in your home, for example, a back patio being restained, while it could add some value to your home, it's not going to be nearly as important as those kitchen cabinets being updated or repainted or refinished.
Can we clarify, just seek for a little clarification on that? Because I've had some clients in the past that I have shared this information with, and what they have done with that is they have gone and painted the cabinets avocado green. And so when you say updated, what do you mean by that? Do you advise people to look at more modern palettes and maybe neutralize things out? Or, we all have such different tastes. Our styles are so different. What do you advise when you say update? What does that mean?
First thing I would recommend is we need to look at your home as a product. Your home is now becoming a house, and that house is becoming a product. And as so, for lack of a better term, neutral is really where we want to focus. And when I say neutral, it's what would appeal to the widest range of buyers that we could put your home in. And so what are kind of those neutral colors? What's kind of the decluttering that any buyer could walk in and say, I could see myself here. I could see my family here. I could see my life here. I could see us enjoying this space.
So would you call that more of like a blank canvas? More of like a white wall or a light cream colored wall, so that people can actually envision their color palette and their art and their design going in the home? Is that more what you were saying?
I'll tell you, the fastest way to lose money on your house is to paint those cabinets lime green, because that's very, very specific to a certain buyer. And most people that go in are going to say, well, I wouldn't prefer lime green for cabinets. And so I'm going to pay someone to come in and redo all of these cabinets as soon as we move in. And they will look at their realtor and say, how much can we get off the asking price of this home so that we can get these cabinets redone? How much can we get off the asking price of this home so we can get all of the painting redone? So we can get all of the carpeting updated, so we can get et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So it's actually going to cost the sellers more if they add those colorful little touches before they try to sell it.
Again, if we talk about neutralizing things out, I think that's going to be the best route to go. Is what is the most beautiful canvas that you could create for any potential buyer coming into the home, that any buyer would walk in and say, I can see my sofa in that corner. Nice. I can see my pictures on the wall. I can see myself making lunch in this kitchen and sending the kids off to school in the morning. It's where it becomes really important. We get so sentimental with our homes, and for good reason. It's where life is, and it's where people memories are created,
and make memories and family dinners, and the marks on the wall as the little kids grow up. There's so many aspects of it where it's very, very sentimental. I love what you said about making it a product. It's no longer your home, it's a house.
We live in a really cool time. And we have these really neat digital phones where we can take pictures of the marks on the walls where the kids have grown up for the past 15 years. We can take pictures of the nostalgia. And a lot of us used to put those pictures onto the walls. I think it's important, as you're getting ready to list your home to sell, that all of those personal things prepare a space for the next chapter of your life. And so all of those things going into a nice box and getting ready to go to your next home becomes really key in sizing your home down and getting it ready to sell, getting it ready for the market.
I love that. And talking with you before, along those same lines, when you take those products or your personal items off the walls, and instead of leaving them in a box, to actually take them to your new home, and even if it's not where you're going to leave them, to hang them on the walls and emotionally move your personal products or items over to your home is so, so important. It's very important. So it turns your home into a house. Very important.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with you on that. Because a lot of I get a series of questions thrown at me all the time. One of them has to do with curb appeal. What do we need to do with the outside of our house in order to get it ready to sell? And a lot of people say, do we need to update the shrubbery? Do we need to put a new lawn in, et cetera, et cetera? And here's what I would recommend. For your market, it's important to go look at what's going on in your market. it's a good time to contact your realtor and say, hey, I would like to go look at the homes in my current market that are similar to mine, so I can gauge where my house would be in comparison with those homes. There's this common misconception, and this happens so much, where this common misconception is my house is really unique. There's no other house like mine. I've done all of these wonderful upgrades to my house, and it is worth more than any other house out there because I, put in a custom patio and I, planted some beautiful shrubs, and my house is better than anything else out there, and it should sell for at least $200,000 or $300,000 more than any other home. And will your buyers also see your house in that same light? Because they're going to be out looking at the other 6 or 8 or 10 homes in your neighborhood that are currently for sale that are similar to yours. And their question is going to be, what is it that your home has that none of these other homes have that's going to make it worth paying an extra $100,000 in this home, in this neighborhood? Why is your house the most expensive? And I know in your mind you're going, well, I've got that cool gazebo and I added that outdoor fireplace, and so my home's easily worth that. And no other home has an outdoor fireplace or a gazebo in their yard. It's why I recommend you go check out some of the other homes, because more than likely all of them do.
So have your realtor take you to half dozen homes in your neighborhood that are comparable so that you can see what your competition is. What you're saying?
Well, and not just that, I recommend putting on buyer's glasses when you go out. And so really you're looking at selling your home, and your buyer's glasses are going to be, I've got my phone open on notes, or I've got a notepad. And when I pull up to this property, I'm going to take some notes about the front yard. How does it look? How does it make me feel? How does the mailbox look? How does the walk look? How do the shrubs look? Do I have a good feeling about this house? Can I see myself here? Even as a seller, if you're looking at that home as a potential buyer, you'll notice that the fascia boards are rotten, that there's paint chipping, that the sidewalk hasn't been pressure washed, that the driveway hasn't been pressure washed, that there's an oil stain in the driveway, that the street wasn't cleaned, and so there's debris and cut grass on the street, and on and on and on. And so you have this certain feel pulling up to a home, and the feeling you want potential buyers to have when they pull up to your home is that their home.
Yes.
And when I say their home, you want people to have this feeling of like, oh, I'm upgrading my life, and this is where I would be proud to bring my parents over, my friends, my family.
Host Thanksgiving.
This is it, right? And so if you go look at some other homes in the neighborhood, let's say you go look at 6 or 8 homes and you've created that list. What is the curb appeal like? What does the front porch look like? What does the entryway feel like? When I walk into the home, is it bright? Is it open? Is it dark? Are there heavy blinds on all of the windows? Are the walls colored mustard yellow and orange and green? How does the kitchen feel? Is it all the old brown cabinetry that, and there's no light in the house and it smells of dogs and cats? I love dogs and cats. It doesn't mean everybody loves the smell of dogs and cats.
And everyone gets so used to the, like you always say, the scent of their own upholstery. And it's not always.
In real estate, we call it upholstery nose. You just get used to the own sense of your own house. And so those scents that, your animals have that you don't recognize because you're around your animals all the time, or your kids, or, the laundry, whatever it is, carpets, you're used to that. But walking into other people's homes, and when you go to sell your home and you walk into someone else's, you'll know right away. Those homes that are bright and open and they smell nice and they look clean, there's something about them that invites you in and makes you want to stay. And you want that same feeling when people come into your home when you're trying to sell it. And so
I have a quick question along those lines. As people move out of their homes, a lot of times the carpeting needs to be replaced. And it does, it retains scent immensely. So do you recommend people have that removed beforehand and put down any other type of flooring, or just to put an allowance in there? Because on the realtor side, I've noticed that a lot of the times once that carpet's removed, and even if it's a more inexpensive flooring that's put down, knowing that most people are going to replace the flooring, in my personal opinion, the homes have sold much, much faster if that carpet has been removed and something else has been laid down.
Yeah, we again, we live in kind of strange times. Even 30 years ago, no one had allergies. Everyone has allergies to everything now, everything. If they smell milk, they've got an allergy to it. If there's a tree in the yard, they have an allergy to it. If there is any kind of carpet in the house, they're going to have an allergy to it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how new the carpet is. It doesn't matter when it was put in.
Very few people want to live over someone else's carpet.
Well, I don't want to say no one, but
Very few.
by and large, most people prefer not to have carpet. They would rather have hardwood floors and put down a throw rug next to the bed. And that's the reality.
Very true.
If you're selling your home and you have a budget to replace the carpet, replace it with any kind of a hardwood floor. And when I say hard, I'm sorry, a hard floor. It doesn't have to be hardwood, but replace it with any kind of a hard floor, tile, wood, etc. Get rid of the carpet if at all possible. If it just doesn't fit into your budget and it doesn't work for you, totally understandable.
But there will most likely be asked for a carpet allowance, a flooring allowance.
More than likely, and those are usually highly overpriced. And so,
So it's a lot more cost efficient to do it as the seller before you go.
it is so much more cost efficient. You
Good
can
to
get
know.
cheap carpet if you really are going to replace the carpet with other carpet. Make sure it's something that is that can be high trafficked and is not overly expensive. More than likely, anyone who moves into the house will have it pulled out either way. And in most cases, even if it's new carpet, there is still some sort of carpet allowance that's asked for, because very, very few people, probably 1 or 2% of people, prefer to have carpet in the bedrooms. Almost all new homes now are coming with either no carpet or only carpet in the bedrooms.
Makes
So,
sense. Absolutely makes
yeah.
sense. Oh my goodness. So as far as the master, there were a couple of items that you said were really important to update before you even got it on the market. So we talked a little bit about the master bathrooms. We've talked about flooring. Kitchen wise, besides the cabinetry, what do you recommend for the countertops? Because that's brought up in every single transaction.
I would say by and large, everything has moved to solid. And so whether it's a type of rock, your granite, something like that, even in really low end neighborhoods, everything's basically moved to hard countertops. They just last longer and people prefer them. And so if at all possible, upgrade to some sort of hard countertop, like a granite of some sort. And that's what I would recommend if you're going to replace any kind of countertops. When we're talking about upgrading kitchens and bathrooms, what we're talking about is upgrade the countertops, upgrade the appliances if possible, and resurface the cabinetry. A lot of cabinets, especially older cabinetry, was built really well. And it's not that the cabinets are not good, it's just that they're outdated. And so by replacing the hardware on the cabinets and taking the cabinetry and just upgrading the paint on it, having it sanded down, repainted to, again, a neutral color. Light colors are really in for kitchens and have been for the past several years. The brighter and whiter a kitchen is, it leaves kind of that blank slate for people to go in and make it their own. And so that's what I would highly recommend when it comes to your kitchen, when it comes to your bathrooms, if at all possible, especially in the master and the guest suite. Try to redo the countertops. To put in a new little cabinet in your bathroom is pretty inexpensive. Masters can be a little different story because you can go really overboard on a master. But any upgrades you do, taking out those old showers, old tub combos, putting a nice walk-in shower in, having that retiled and look nice will make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
your potential buyer is going to be spending the majority of their time in the kitchen and in the master. And so that's really where they want it the most upgraded. And so if you can put money into those two areas, those are the fastest things that will sell a home in terms of cosmetics. As far as location and proximity and those things, those all play a factor. But having the actual upgrades in your home done, focusing on that master bathroom, focusing on the guest bathroom, and specifically in the kitchen, you're definitely going to get the most bang for your buck.
Those are great tips. Those are very, very good tips. So bouncing outside now, we talked a little bit about curb appeal. What are some things that just every seller should do? Just to button things up and make it look really nice. Say there's not a huge budget for landscaping. What are just some quick, easy, great ideas that will absolutely help?
So glad you asked. A couple of things that I would recommend right away is go outside and make a checklist. Walk around your yard with buyer's glasses on and look at your yard from different angles. Are there dead shrubs? Are there weeds? Is there poor landscaping? Is there broken irrigation? What does the outside of the house look like? Do you have what looks like mold growing up the side of the house or dark spots on the house? How does the siding look? Is there paint chipping places? How does those fascia boards look? The fascia boards are that little board right underneath the roof edge. So the roof comes down and it's the board right underneath it. Those boards are designed to catch the rain and have it run off of your house.
Especially in Texas, we don't have a lot of gutters here.
It's very few gutters. And so those rot out very, very quickly. And having those rotting and paint chipping, the first thing people are going to think is the house is rotten, it's falling apart, and there's termites in it. Especially here in Texas, we get that all of the time. People look at that and they're like, oh, there's termites, the house is rotten. It is very inexpensive to replace a fascia board. They're usually a 2x6. That's all they are. And they just go on the eave of the roof. And again, they're painted and they're to help the rain run away from the house. And so those boards are designed to take off and throw away about every 8 years. Most people don't do that. And so again, really simple fixes on your yard. Kind of walk around, look at your shrubbery, look at your landscaping. Is there anything you could just remove to make it look better? Weed eat, weed trim, mow the lawn.
Edging makes such a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. People don't even realize really what's happened, but it tightens everything up and it looks far more orderly. So weed eating and edging is huge.
Yeah, 100%. I would definitely say that that's the case. So those are a few things you could do right away. Also decluttering the yard. So many of us just don't realize how much stuff we put in our yard over time. That old picnic table that we got, the yard chairs with the little umbrellas and all of those things that were really cool that have been sitting in the yard and sunbaking for the past 3 or 4 years. And then our dog has chewed apart and all of those kinds of things. Dog houses, dog runs, anything you can declutter and make look better, remove all of those things. First impression is absolutely everything when it comes to selling your home, and you only have one chance to make a first impression. Your buyer is going to come in and they're going to decide in the first 30 seconds if that house is right for them. How are they going to decide that? They're walking up the sidewalk to your house. They're going to walk through that threshold, and within a few seconds, whatever smells and sights they see is going to determine whether they want to spend more time in the house and see if it's the right one, or whether they're going to turn right around and walk out.
I cannot agree with you more. And I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten out of the vehicle with my clients, walked up to the front door, and then realized that those clients are standing on the front porch while your realtor is getting into the key box and unlocking the door. So they're standing around and they're looking at the windows, they're looking at the door, they're looking at the presentation of the front porch. And by the time we make it in the house and they stand at the front door, right inside the front door, those very first impressions, the lighting, the smell, all of those things that you just mentioned, Erin, I cannot tell you how many times we have walked inside the house, and as I'm taking the key out of the lock, they're like, nope, we're done. We've seen enough. We don't like the smell. We didn't like the presentation of the yard. We didn't like the front door. We didn't like X, Y, and Z. So that first impression, it's not even, they won't even go through the living room or the front part of the house. So it is huge. As far as the front door goes, I know it seems silly, but what would you advise? Because I feel as a realtor, there is not nearly enough attention, because when we drive across town to go view a home and we can't get past the front door, that says a lot.
So many homes neglect the front porch, and it's a really simple reason why. Most of us don't use the front door.
It's true.
We
Go
pull
to the
into
garage.
we pull into the garage. We go in through the garage where we're just not used to being out on the front porch, which means cobwebs build up, hornets make their nests out there, dust and debris build up. The front door could be touched up. Unless you have a really nice metal door, most wood doors could use a nice repaint job before you list your home. It would make such a world of difference. Have a really nice bright door that pops. Makes such a big difference. And pressure washing, I think, is one of the biggest things that are overlooked when selling a home, is just pressure washing. It makes everything look so much cleaner. And then
the hardware also.
yeah, I was going to say that.
I can't tell you how many doors I have tried to unlock. And the lock doesn't work. The mechanism is broken inside. And when you stand there rattling around for 5 minutes and you can't get through the front door, they're like, if they don't care about the detail of the front door, we cannot imagine how the rest of the home has been neglected. So
it really is that first impression walking in. So many locks have been jammed or broken on the front door or don't function right. I highly recommend, when you're going to sell your house, just go ahead and get one of those electronic keypads. They're like $150. Put a new keypad lock on the front door. Any agent can then access it without a problem. It's going to function properly. It's going to look really, really nice. And what a nice gift for the buyer moving in. And so highly, highly recommend getting one. Get rid of that old door thing that you have going on, unless you have a really, really nice one that was on a custom built door, and it works really well. It's been oiled and it's functioning properly. It will make all the difference in the world. So I highly recommend that you do that. It will make a lot of difference. And again, so many people, when an agent is sitting there fumbling around with the front door and it's not working, I can't tell you how many clients just say, hey, we're not even interested. If the front door is broken, probably everything else in the house has been neglected, and we'll just go to the next one.
Literally,
So-
this meets all of our criteria. It's the perfect school district. The perfect layout for my family, and the door knob itself will be enough to detail them.
I think you had a situation here a week or so
It's
ago
happened to me
with a
several
client
times.
where they walked away from $500,000 home because the tub wasn't clean. Is that
It
correct?
was the grout. It was the grout in the shower.
The grout in
And
the shower.
Clearly, the shower had been cleaned,
Mhm.
but the grout looked old. And they're like, that's disgusting. If the owners are willing to live in such a filthy environment.
Now, if I remember right, also, this house checked all the other boxes. The
All of
client
them.
really liked the house otherwise, but couldn't get over how grody the shower was.
Well, yes, but it goes back to the psychology of, if you aren't going to take care of the things that you use all of the time, what have you neglected? How is the electrical? How is the plumbing? How is the roof? How are all of the things that you don't see all the time? If you don't care about your front door, if you don't care about the shower that you're in, hopefully every day. So as we're on this topic, what are some of the other common things that sellers neglect? Some of the biggest issues that you see that they neglect?
Regular maintenance issues.
conditioner
Specifically ACs, not replacing filters. If you don't replace filters on your AC units and you go for a month, 2 months, especially if you have animals, unless you've got a really nice AC system with the big filters that you only need to replace every 4 or 5 months, what happens is as it's pumping air through the system and those get dirty, it carries air through the ducting, and that dirt comes out around the exit vents. And so as you're walking through the house and you look up, you just see dirt all over the ceiling around the vents, and it makes everything feel really gross, like you're living on top of someone else's dirt. And simple things like replacing the filters, taking all of the vents off and cleaning them so they're all nice and clean, and screwing them back onto the ceiling. And by the way, cleaning out venting, depending on the type of venting, can damage the venting. And so it's oftentimes it's better not to run air. So how they usually clean those is they'll run air hoses up into the venting, and they use a really high pressure air to blast everything out. And sometimes that can cut through the actual venting and create tears and rips and those kinds of things. And so just basic maintenance items on your home. If you have a septic, for example, or a well, just basic maintenance things, just makes all the difference in the world. Also, most of us have animals, and having an animal in the house, of course, their family. And I mean, I have 2 dogs myself, and they're in the house all the time. Things like baseboards, door jams, places where dogs go sniff and put their paws.
The low windows that they love to peer out of.
Having those things cleaned up make all the difference. When you walk into a home and there's paw prints everywhere, and there's dirt on the doors, and the door jambs are chewed apart, and the windowsills are all dirty, and all those kinds of things, people go in and they have this impression like, well, we're going to have to replace all of that. There's not even the concept of let's clean it. It's they probably tried to clean it, and that's as clean as it got. And so we're going to have to replace all of the trim. We're going to have to replace the doors. We're going to have to replace, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so in people's minds, it gets to be this big deal. And then they're turning around asking their realtor, like, how many tens of thousands can we get off on this house to do all these repairs? And in the seller's mind, they're going, oh, the door just needs to be washed. So
usually they are pretty easy fixes. That's the truth.
Yeah, they are.
Well, before we move on to the other aspects of your book, are there any other things that you can think of that we should pay attention to?
A big thing that always comes up is, what is my house actually worth? Knowing that my house is worth way more than everyone else's in the neighborhood because I have lived in it.
And sentimental.
And so it's clearly worth more than anyone else's home. How much more is it worth than anyone else's? And I would just have to say, really get with your realtor on this. Your realtor has deep insight into what's going on in the market, specifically in your neighborhood, specifically what has sold. We can look back over time and see what's sold. Over months, over years, we can see every home that's sold, every size of home, what it sold for, how long it was on the market. We can pull up pictures of what that home looked like when it sold. And so to not realize that your realtor has a really good idea of the most they can get out of your home and how your home compares to everything else on the market is really, really key. Something that a lot of people don't realize is we as realtors, especially as listing agents, we are comparing your home room by room to every other home that has sold and every other home that has sold over time. And so we'll go back months, sometimes years, especially if it's a more exclusive neighborhood and homes are not selling very fast in the neighborhood, there's not a huge turnover. We will go analyze each home that is sold room by room by room, comparing it to your home and looking at the value each room has compared to everything else that's sold. Your home as an overall picture compared to everything else that's sold. And so we'll analyze the kitchen and the living room and the height of the ceilings and the type of flooring and the level of granite and on and on and on, even down to the landscaping and is there irrigation and how big is your yard compared to other yards and on and on and on. And so when we come to you with a price that your home could sell for, the thing we get the most is sellers look at that price and say, well, let's list it another $20,000 over that. And that's fine if you don't want to sell your home. we can list it for whatever you want. It's your home. But more than likely, the home isn't going to move, or is it going to sell in a timely manner for those reasons? And so there's a couple different pricing strategies, and depending on where we market your home will depend on how quickly we get it sold. And it really is going to boil down to you as the homeowner and your budget and your time frame, and if you want a double mortgage, and there's a lot of factors that play into that. And it's our job to help discover what those things are and make sure that you're under our care and protection, and we get your home sold as fast as we can for the most amount possible. Clearly, as a listing agent, I want to get the very, very most I can out of your home. That's, I'm here to sell your home and get the most out of it. And so I'm not going to try to lowball you. At the same time, I want there to be realistic expectation of what you can get out of your home in any current market.
I love that. And speaking of that, the way that the market has been over the course of the last couple of years, how do you recommend, like, people just still want the same price. I don't know how else to say it. People still want the same price as they have the last 2 or 3 years, and the market has changed tremendously. So people still want to sell their home for $100,000 more than it's currently valued. But that's still the mentality and the mindset. So how is a realtor to navigate that in these times?
I think it has been my experience that we as realtors and as good realtors, we keep a really close eye on the market daily. And so we're constantly reading market trends. We're figuring out what's going on. We're analyzing data reports and what's happening in our marketplace. And we're usually the first ones to know as the market changes of what's going on. It's our job. It's what we do full time. It's what we do every day, all day. And so not only do we keep a really close eye on the market and know kind of where those trends are going, but just because a neighbor down the street sold their home 6 months ago and they sold it for X, it doesn't mean that you're going to get X out of your property. And liken it kind of to a car.
Okay.
You own a vehicle and somebody else owns a vehicle. And you're saying, well, my friend sold their car for X, so I should get at least that much out of mine.
Oh, that happens all the time.
What kind of car did they have? How old was the car?
How many miles did it have?
What condition was it in? And people are going, well, it was in the same neighborhood. Great. Was it similar square footage? Did it have similar kind of upgrades? Has anything been done to it since they purchased it? Well, they put $100,000 of landscaping in, and they put in a brand new pool, and they upgraded their kitchen and master. And I've lived in my home for 15 years and haven't upgraded anything. But because I'm in the same neighborhood, I should get at least that,
So establishing realistic expectations is really, really difficult for most realtors right now. Like, people absolutely just don't want to hear that.
Well, a couple things you have to remember. Interest rates are going up. A few years ago, interest rates were around 3%, 4%. They're up over 7% right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you could buy a house for 2 or 3 years ago, you can buy almost half of that house now for the same payment. And so if you were looking at a $500,000 home or $1 million home 2 or 3 years ago, you're now looking at, $250,000 home or a $500,000 home for the same amount of down payment, for the same amount of monthly. And so the market is changing a lot. And that means buyers that were looking in different neighborhoods are now coming in and looking at homes that are half the home they would have lived in. They've got way less upgrades than they would have had.
Absolutely.
And, they're looking at these homes going, I want a lot more for my money. And at the same time, people going to sell their home are going, well, 2-3 years ago, I could have got way more out of my home. And you're like, yes, but also the buyers that are now coming to look at your home are people that are looking at your home as a way less of a home than they could have purchased. And so they're already walking into your home with disappointment. They're not getting what they could have got. And they're in their mind, they're still wanting to move into a palace, and they're going, well, I don't want to live like a pauper. And in their mind, that's what they're seeing, right? Because it's such a different style of home than they're used to. It's a different type of neighborhood. It's a totally different world. And so buyers are going in going, oh, I would never live here. Or if I have to live in a neighborhood like this, then I would only pay X. Well, they're still paying that $4,000 a month payment or that $3,500 a month payment, but now they're living in a lesser neighborhood, half the house they would have been in, half the upgrades. And they're going, well, I don't feel comfortable with this, you know? And so it is our job to help educate. And at the same time, if you're going to price your house really high, it's
Be
only,
prepared to have it sit for a
yeah,
while.
it's, you know, it's
I
not,
had, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, it's not going to benefit anyone. So you have to be somewhat realistic. And yeah, we're not getting the same price that we got out of homes a couple of years ago. We have moved from a seller's market to a buyer's market on almost every single deal that's going on. We're looking at all kinds of concessions. We're looking at,
Can you break down concessions real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
What is
So
a concession and what does that mean?
well, so if I'm representing a buyer and I'm looking at a home, I'm looking at their finances. I'm looking at their current home that they're in. What are their mortgages? What is their payoff? If someone's selling a home, they're usually going to buy a home. If they're selling their home and buying a home at the same time, what is the overlap in those two? Are they going to have to pay a double mortgage for a month, 3 months? What does that burn rate look like? And then, you know, what can I get them on the buy side that would help them keep a little more money in their pocket through the process? And so are we asking for closing costs? Are we asking, you know, for the seller to cover title policy and survey? Are we asking for any upgrades to be done in the home? Anything to be fixed or maintenanced? Are we asking for things like the septic to be pumped? You know, are there any kind of issues that need to be addressed or fixed? Is the roof old? Does it need to be repaired? Do we need a new roof? All those kinds of things not only play into that, but when we're making those offers, we're comparing it to everything else that's sold in the past 3 months, 4 months, as the market has changed and homes are selling for less and less money. Is your home still worth another $50,000 over what everything else in the neighborhood is? And so don't be offended when we come in making an offer $50,000 under asking, you know, asking for $10,000 in closing costs and repairs, because that's what the market is dictating. That's what other homes are selling for, and that's what sellers are selling them for. And so representing a seller who's purchasing a home, we're going, what are all the things we could get for this buyer? And also inventory is a lot greater. And so especially through the summer months, everybody's out of school, military is PCSing, and there are hundreds of homes on the market in any given neighborhood or any given area. Maybe not hundreds in every neighborhood, but there's a lot more on the market. There's a lot more options. And let's say you qualify for $1 million home, then, you know, there's a lot of options between $800,000 and $1 million that are on the market. And so we can be a lot more picky for our buyers about what's available and what they can get for the money. And even though it might be a beautiful property, we have a lot of negotiation room. We can go in and we might look at a dozen homes this week and we might offer on 3 or 4 of them. And we're going to take whichever one has the best terms. And so we're no longer competing with a shortage of inventory where you only have a few options and there's 50 people bidding on it. We're looking at homes that are sitting on the market for an average of 30 to 40 days. And during that time frame, we're getting a lot of offers coming in and or not. And so we have a lot more room to negotiate.
So what are some strategies and techniques for negotiating in those situations?
So much of that has to do with your liquidity, with what's going on in your life. What is your budget? What do you have in savings? What do you actually need versus what do you want?
That one's huge.
I want to get you everything that I possibly can.
Everyone wants the unicorn.
Right.
Everyone wants a unicorn property.
And I will work my hardest to get you the most that we can out of any given situation. At the same time, what do you really need? Everybody would love a big 6-bedroom home with a pool on a hill. What do you need? you're an empty nester and you don't need a 2-story home or 5,000 square feet. Maybe that 3,000 square foot 1-story, at the end of a nice cul-de-sac versus that big house on top of the hill is more convenient really for your lifestyle. That might be more what you need versus what you want. Do you really need to pay when it's 110 degrees outside to cool a 6,000 square foot home when you could be cooling a 3,000 square foot home, And so I think it really goes back to, what do you need? And it is our job as a realtor to help you figure out what it is you need and what it is you want. And we will always try to find a happy medium of both. And if you really want that beautiful deck, you really want that fireplace, even though it's 100 degrees year round here, we'll do our best to accommodate all of those things for you. And again, it's just, what do you need? And it's having those open, honest conversations about what your needs are so that we can help you with the financing and what we're asking for and how much off and the terms and all of those kinds of things. It's really based on each individual situation and how best we can help you. And that's our job.
Where it is so individualized, I feel like that's one thing that I hear often in our field is it is so important to sit down, whether you're the client or the seller, it is so important to sit down and strategize regularly. What would you say? Probably every 2 weeks, reevaluate and strategize and really listen to your realtor. They are the market experts. It's so important, I think, to set that expectation with your client ahead of time, because the market changes quickly and it's different through each month of the year. So to continually strategize is vital. I was in a home the other day and the seller wanted $799. They wanted almost $800,000 for their home. And going back to expectations and what they're used to from a couple of years ago, very sentimental. They had done all of these magnificent things to the home. And every person that went in the home thought that it was a wonderful home for $375,000 or $400,000. And so reevaluating and strategizing is so important to do on a regular and continual basis. What does the seller really need out of the home? He may have wanted $800,000, but what does he need to get out of the home in order to be able to purchase his next home and be above water?
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree with that. It's just setting those realistic expectations. And again, that whole reevaluation process, it really comes down to what's going on in your life. How best can we help you? And something that we run into on a daily is you as the seller, you're running out and you're talking to everybody. Why? Because it's on your mind. And so you're out at dinner with friends and you're saying, oh, I'm thinking about selling my house. What do you think? What does Uncle Bob think? What does Jane think? Well, what does Sally think? And you get everybody's opinions and thoughts about what you should be doing for your home, how much your home should be selling for, what other people are doing. And so all these questions keep popping up and you keep reevaluating and keep asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decisions? And we get those calls all the time. Last night we got an email at 3 a.m. Somebody couldn't sleep. Hey, I'm just on edge and I can't sleep and I'm thinking about X. And again, it's important to keep that open, honest conversation. Me as a realtor, I like to continue to talk to my clients every day, every other day throughout the process so that I can answer those questions as they come up. We can reevaluate, we can really address and talk about things in your mind. Are all so important, especially through the process. So anyway.
Life of a busy realtor right there. Are there any strategies that a seller should be aware of just right before they sell? Any strategies during, right before, Anything specific that you would recommend?
Yeah, working with so many sellers over the years, we as realtors, and speaking specifically about myself, have checklists for everything. So before you go to sell your home, I'll provide you with a checklist of everything from the outside to the inside to the mechanics of your home, what to check for, what to look for, what should be updated, um, and then even all the way through the process. What's expected out of week one of having your home under contract? What's expected out of week two? What paperwork do you need prior? How soon should we open escrow? All those fun things. Not only will we guide and direct you through each one of those steps, I've got a full service team, and we will make sure you have the heads up on all of those things days, weeks before they happen. And so, when should we be packing up the kitchen to move out? When should we be packing up our toothbrush? When should we be putting clothes away and packing up toys and the dogs? All of those kinds of things play a role in moving. And it's important to know when to start packing those things up, when to start moving. Had a situation today where someone was moving. Actually, this happened yesterday. I was hearing about it today. They were on their way out. They were taking their chickens. One of the crates got open in the truck on their way out, and a bunch of the chickens got back out onto the property. And
they ran back to their roost.
They ran back to their roost, and then trying to, in the midst of a move and kids and dogs and animals in the car and trying to get out of town on a time frame, they ended up leaving 11 chickens behind, just because of
the buyers.
They couldn't figure out how to stop and regroup and go capture them again, and on and on. And, when you're talking about a farm and chickens running wild, it's hard to go catch a chicken on your way out of the driveway. Right. And so these things happen. It's nice to have a checklist of, hey, maybe a week before then, so if they had followed the plan, they would have already had the facility set up, a time scheduled to take care of that, and they wouldn't be under that type of pressure.
So the realtor should be supplying the tools and resources to make the transition smooth and easy, and getting your water.
I think something too that a lot of people don't realize is how connected realtors are. Mm-hmm. Yes. We work with such a gamut of people on a day-to-day basis, from contractors to external companies, carpet companies, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've got a really big network. And so when we come in and we assess your property and your home, in our heads, we're already going, oh, we've got a contractor that can come over and fix the grout here. We've got somebody who can come over and paint. We've got somebody who can come pressure wash. We've got somebody that can come clean out this barn, et cetera, et cetera. And not that you have to use those people, but we have a huge resource, and usually 3, 4, 5, 6 people for any given job. Because we do so much real estate, we've got to have a backup for a backup for the backup. And so if you want to make your life really easy, work with a really good realtor that's been in the business for a long time. They're well connected. They have systems and processes for everything, and they will make the ride smooth. They'll take the stress out of it. When you can't sleep at 3 a.m, you can text my business partner and she'll take care of it. So we've got a system for everything. And when you work with somebody who's just been in the business and have done it over and over and over hundreds, thousands of times, we've got the processes. Well, we can help you. We can take that stress out. You don't have to stay up at night worrying about, when should I start packing up, the kids' toys? When should we start taking everything out of the kitchen? What are the things we need to live on a day-to-day basis until we move out? What's the drop dead date? When is the final walkthrough? All of those kinds of things not only will be addressed, it'll be fun, it'll be exciting, and we will time it to where you can get into your new home and out of your old home without having to put stuff in storage and move 2 or 3 times and all this kind of thing, especially if you work with the same realtor. If you're working with a different realtor on the buy and sell side, it's such a pain that usually I'll just fire you and I won't even work with you on the sell side, because more often than not, what ends up happening is you get so stressed out about the incompetency of the other realtor not working on the timing and not working with me that you'll usually end up moving into storage. all your stuff into storage, you'll end up. I had this happen actually this last summer, and it's one of the reasons why I typically won't do it anymore. Not only did they have to move their stuff into storage, they had to move into an Airbnb during the process. They couldn't park their RV, so they had to go get RV storage because they couldn't park it at the Airbnb. They couldn't move into their new house. They had such a difficult time with the other realtor, they ended up trying to sue that real estate company. And they were so stressed out and so frustrated by the time they got into their new home, they were just wishing they had never moved at all. And
That's so sad.
they spent over a month of just being stressed and frustrated and upset and angry. And it just, for whatever reason. And so why go through that? Why go through that when you don't have to? It's just not necessary. And so working with the same realtor on both sides or the same real estate team on both sides will help you navigate those waters and have a really fun, engaging experience all the way through. So
I love that. And also, we're live and my computer just died. So my battery's up. So as far as that goes, what are some final tips and tricks that you would recommend?
get with a really good realtor. Get with a
Somebody
really
that
good
knows their
realtor
stuff.
that has been in the business for a long time, that can help you navigate those waters, that has really good connections to lenders, to title companies, to contractors, to help you have a stress-free process. They liken selling a home to being the same level of stress as having a child for the first time. And for any of you who've ever had a child,
It can
and
be
and
stressful.
especially the first time, you understand the amount of stress that comes with that. And again, if you talked to somebody who had 20 kids before your first kid, they would probably be able to help you navigate those waters in such a way that it wasn't as stressful,
For sure.
and help you get through that process. Something that we get all of the time is, I've banked with this bank for X amount of years, and so they should help me with my home. That's
With
great,
the home
but
loan.
the home loan, that's great. However, banks don't specialize in home loans. They specialize in banking. And as a result, you end up as a number in some backroom department with one person who doesn't want to answer the phone or doesn't want to talk to you. And so we, as your realtors, get to stay on hold indefinitely. Appraisals aren't ordered on time. The process doesn't usually go very smooth. They don't like to communicate with title. They certainly won't communicate with the other agent. And so most of the time, it's not only frustrating for everyone involved, but it's so stressful
We run over deadlines.
that even your realtor wants to fire you.
Well,
working with your lender, because it wastes so much of our time as an agent. It wastes so much of our time, our transaction coordinator's time, all the people we have in place, just waiting on hold and missing deadlines and constantly trying
amendments.
to redo what could have easily been done and taken care of. I had a situation here a few months ago. It must be 7 or 8 months ago now, where I was so frustrated with the banker that not only did I see if we could let the clients go and ask the clients multiple times to get with another lender, they were like, no, they're my friend and they've been my friend for 20 years and all this kind of stuff. The lender on multiple occasions actually did things that were highly illegal and absolutely were reported. And not only will we never work with that banker loan officer again, but we had to report them to the board. And it wasn't fun. Everybody ended up stressed out. And at the end of the day, like, no one won. Everyone felt abused and used by the end, everyone,
That's so
including the lender.
unfortunate.
And the sellers, or I'm sorry, the buyers on that property, they were so frustrated and despondent by the time they got into the property. They were just saying they wish they had never done it in the first place. And
That's
we've
awesome.
got lenders we've worked with on hundreds of transactions that have phenomenal teams. They're totally customer service
Where do
oriented.
people find these lenders?
So there's a couple of lenders specifically here in Texas. And by the way,
So you're referring to local lenders, wherever you
Well,
are,
and-
local lenders over.
even then, oftentimes lenders are licensed in multiple states. There's a company here in San Antonio called Legacy Mutual Mortgage, and it's the Sigmund team.
Woohoo!
Josh Sigmund specifically is one of the best lenders probably in the nation. And I'm not just saying that. This is hundreds, if not thousands of clients over the years saying, this is the best experience we've ever had when it's come to lending, ever. There's another company called Churchill Mortgage. It's endorsed by Dave Ramsey. And there's a gentleman by the name of Mason Whitehead. He's a regional manager here in Texas and offers some of the very, very best loan products out there. And also has gone to a lot of the similar, he's friends actually with Sigmund, and they run their business a lot the same
Yes.
in terms of having phenomenal systems.
Very
They're
ethical.
very customer service oriented, and they look at you as not a number, but as a person with a life, with assets, and they assess your situation and help you come up with the very best loan products, and they can shop nationwide. And so working with the right people, they have the best connections to the best the best title companies in the state, in the nation. And so if you want a really smooth, fun transaction on selling your home, one, work with a good realtor that's got really good connections in the lending and in the title space, because those three players are going to make all the difference of the transaction going smoothly, you guys having a stress-free time, getting the right rates, having the best, investment on your mortgage, all those kinds of things, and how to structure all of that. A lot of these guys that are really, really good in the lending field, they almost work as financial consultants in terms of where are you at, how best can we help you, what would make the most sense for your situation. So
right. And also people don't realize that you work hand in hand with these people on a daily basis the entire way through your transaction. So it's not just picking a lender. You have a relationship with them every day. So
and oftentimes it's more than just a month. It's more than
of course.
Sometimes it's several months, or we had that couple here last year who moved 3 properties with us. They purchased a home and they had 2 properties to sell. And we worked with them for more than 6 months, almost 7 months. And so having the right people in place is really key to just, again, stress-free, fun,
Smooth
transaction where you actually want to tell your friends, like, man, you got to work with this group of people. It was actually enjoyable. We didn't pull our hair out. We didn't get a divorce. And our kids still love us, and we can all still go to family dinner together. So my book covers all of that and more, and we'll take you step by step through the selling process. And really, it's the pride of ownership and how to maximize the value of your home when you go to sell. So highly recommend you read it. Highly recommend you get with a good lender, and make the process fun. You only live once. So don't go through all that stress for months and months and months. It's just
that's
not
what you
worth it.
have a team for. You have a team of people to remove all of the stress and anxiety. So where can people find your book?
Yeah, so my book is actually on Amazon, and it is available in both a hardcover and in the digital version. It is also in multiple languages, and so not that you want it in other languages, but if you need it in a different language.
And then also in the show notes below.
Yeah, we'll definitely add a link, and you'll be able to find that book on Amazon, of course. You can find me on almost any social media platform at askaaronbrown.com or Ask Aaron Brown. That's my social handle, basically on every social media platform.
Ask Aaron Brown.
You can find us just about anywhere. So,
and also you take questions. People are constantly sending you questions.
I get a lot of questions. Please don't hesitate. You can reach out to me anytime. If you ever need to email me directly, it's aaronbrealty@gmail.com. You're always welcome to reach out via email or text. And I'll always get to those just as quickly as possible.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun having you today. Thank you for breaking your book down and walking us through it. I can't wait to gift copies to my clients. I'm very excited.
Well,
it's going to make my job much, much easier.
I really appreciate that. And again, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Absolutely.
And it was fun getting to chat with you about some of the nuances of selling a home.
There's so many. I'm grateful that you're covering them for us. It's a lot to navigate. All right. Well, again, it's Regina Brown with Realty Success Hub and Daily Show. Again, Erin Brown, thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care, you guys.
Thank you.